winter. It is cold, it is windy, and it's probably also rainy. But if you're anything like me, you're still out playing football, aren't you? Well, of course you are, but let's be honest. Playing football and... Let me get this thing on. Playing football and being cold, it's not always very nice. So in today's video, I'll give you a couple of winter essentials that'll help you stay warm, even if the winter gets a little bit nasty.
Let's go.
Well, let's start with probably your best friend when it gets really cold and wintry out there, which is base layer, which is designed to trap some of the heat that your body generates as you start to move, and then use some of it at least to keep you nice and warm. But it's actually also designed to wick and transport sweat away from your body to keep you nice and dry. See, the thing is that when you start to sweat and that sweat kind of sits on the skin of your body, and then it's really cold outside, the sweat starts to cool down. And at that point, it's gonna feel really unpleasant and very cold. You probably all tried it, you know, being really sweaty, then not doing anything for 5-10 minutes. And it just feels really, really cold and unpleasant. So what you want to do is make sure that the sweat is basically transported as far away from your body and into the outer layers as possible. And base layers do exactly that. And the good thing is that these days there are so many good options out there to keep you warm. One of my favorites is the Nike Pro Warm, which is really good, or the Adidas Climber Warm shirts, which are both on the thicker side, a little bit fuzzy on the inside, and just, you know, nice and warm when it's really bad out there. There's of course also the Light Guard Spine Tech, which is on the thinner side, but on the other hand, it's really effective at transporting sweat away from your body. So I tend to go for this when it's a bit nippy out there, and then when it's really nasty, I go for the slightly thicker options. But honestly, all of these are in my match day rotation. Of course also, for me at least, the Light Guard Glue Tech compression shorts here are an absolute must. Not just for winter, because they're brilliant all year round, but they go in and add a bit of compression and warmth to the thighs. So not only do your legs feel a bit more fresh and ready, but they also reduce the risk of injury, which in the winter, having cold muscles, you know, pulling a hammy, it's just, at least these reduce the risk of it. And for me, I'm getting old, it's important. Finally, of course, if you really hate being cold, you can go out and get yourself a pair of long johns. How do you show these? Long tights. I mean, they're gonna keep you nice and warm, so cool. But you also have to prepare to be relentlessly ridiculed by your teammates. Ronaldinho wore these, and he's a meme because of it. They keep you warm. But it is not all base layer, and when I go out to play, I often emphasize my training apparel as well, especially my long sleeve tops. And the good thing is that no matter which brand you go with, there are some very solid options. I think one of my favorite has to be the Nike Strike ThermaFit ADV Winter Warrior, which is a ridiculous name, but it's also ridiculously good, almost unbeatable shirt for the winter. It's water repellent on the top, has a really nice and plush insulating liner on the inside, and these little, it doesn't really matter, but it has this fun little like thumb warmer, whatever, to keep your hands warm. But anyways, really, really good shirt. There are also the Adidas Tiro 23 winterized shirts that have a little bit of padding around the chest area, which is good because it keeps your chest and your heart warm, and thus all the blood that's circulated around your body is also kept warm, which in turn keeps you a little bit warmer. So cool that. Well, thanks to some padding. Now, the competition shirt here also has this built-in balaclava, which basically goes in and you can put it over your head and your face and keep that warm. Personally, I've not used it because it looks a little jazzy, but if it's really cold out there, I guess it's nice to have, just pop it out. And finally, there is the Puma Individual Winterize, which is also really good because it has this high mock collar, decent amount of lovely insulation on the inside, and it fits really well. So honestly, no matter which of these you go for, you'll do well to be kept warm. Now, when it comes to pants, it doesn't really matter all that much to me personally, but if it's really cold out there, I do prefer the Nike Strike ThermaFits here, which have a little bit of insulation and are still pretty nice and stretchy. But honestly, the Adidas Tiro and any of the Puma options are also gonna do the job. And for me, it's all about the tops. The tops are important. also say that you should get yourself a pair of gloves. I mean, it might be the case that you're too
Macho to wear gloves on the pitch.
but personally, I don't really care about the macho pride. I hate having cold fingers, so I always have a pair of gloves in my bag. Personally, I really like the Puma individual winterized because of all the grip on the palm. The Adidas Tiro Leagues are also really solid. Don't personally like the Tiro Pro, so go for these instead. And of course, there is also the Unisport gloves, which is probably my go-to at the moment and by far also the best value for money that you can get. And I mean, if you hate the gloves, you can just take them off. Now, of course, you can also go for a snood to keep that neck nice and warm, unless you have the Adidas shirt with the balaclava and thing. Just remember that you can't use them for matches and only bring them for trainings. And finally, if you're the type of player who plays in the dark under the floodlights and you have trouble seeing the trajectory of the white ball, getting a winterized yellow football might also help. But honestly, between us, it's not a must, but nice to have. But I've got another little tip for you in terms of staying warm, if you're ready for it. And that is... okay, it's muscle gel. And I know it's not the most sexy thing in the world, and you're gonna have to be that guy or girl sat in the locker room rubbing this lovely muscle gel into your thighs, and we have this sweet smell of camphor spreading throughout the room, and yeah, your teammates, they're gonna take the piss and they're gonna have a laugh. But the thing is that when you get onto the pitch and their muscles are stiff and cold, you'll be the one laughing because your muscles will feel as if they've been kickstarted, and you'll have that lovely warmth spreading throughout the muscles and just making you feel ready to go into the match. Like that. Of course, I could also share another slightly unconventional tip with you, because sometimes I use heat ointment and I rub it on my toes because I hate having cold toes. And yeah, your socks are gonna get messy and whoever washes your socks will absolutely hate you, but it just adds that little bit of little bit of warmth to your toes. It's not gonna keep them warm, but it just, a little bit of something. Just pro tip. It's stupid, but it works. So actually, it's not stupid. And finally, I think it's a really good idea to make sure that your footwear is also ready for the winter. And by that, I mean to make sure that you have the right footwear for the type of surface that you play on. See, a lot of players still play on grass, which in the winter is usually pretty soft and muddy. So getting a pair of SG boots is a very good idea to make sure you're not, tripping all over the place. You have some traction. Now, personally, I really like the Nike anti-clog options because, the mud doesn't stick and they're super easy to clean afterwards. But they are a little bit thicker and you can't replace the studs if that's what you want to do. But honestly, any SG option out there will do the job. It might also be that you have moved on to play on artificial grass, in which case I strongly recommend, I urge you to find a pair of AG-specific boots. Not only to make sure that you minimize the risk of injuries by preventing the boots getting stuck in the ground and then having these nasty twists to your joints and your knees, but also, of course, by just ensuring that you don't lose your warranty by wearing FG boots on AG pitches. It sucks if they break. Now, any of the Puma boots with the MG outsole or any of Nike's AG Pro options are very good. They perform really well and they just feel a little bit safer to wear. So just look at which surface you're playing on and then decide from that. You really should think about it. Now, you might also sometimes find yourself as a substitute. It happens to the best of us. And in that case, you just want to make sure that even sitting down, you're nice and warm. That means, for instance, getting a pair of Gore-Tex shoes that are water repellent so your feet won't get wet. Same applies for the jacket. Get a long one that's a little bit fussy and nice and, just maybe wind and waterproof as well, so you can just sit there in your cocoon and feel good. And if it's really bad out there, you can also pull the cyclist trick, which is basically wrapping tinfoil around your toes. It sounds really stupid and you should take it off before you go and play, but it keeps your toes warm and it works. So yeah. So those were some winter essentials to help you get through playing football in the coldest months out there. But in your book, which is the most essential thing for when it's cold? As always, let me know in the comment section right down below. And remember that you can buy everything you need for playing football in the winter, in the cold, in the link to Unisport right over there. Of course, also don't forget to subscribe to the channel with the notifications on, or otherwise my heart is literally gonna freeze because it's so cold. Get the point? And also, if you like learning new football skills, check the playlist right down there. I need to work on my puns, so I'll see you later. Bye-bye.